Who is there? If you are wise, you will leave immediately. My flesh writhes with scarlet rot. It is a curse, not to be meddled with by man. Atop the cliffs east of Celia, town of sorcery, lies a chapel known as the Church of the Plague. Within it, a young woman stricken with an incurable case of scarlet rot awaits the sickness to consume her. Millicent, with hair as red as blood and who is missing her right arm, warns of the rot. In a shack near Celia is a man named Gowry, who asks you to help the young girl by finding an unalloyed gold needle and bring it to him so he can repair it. By embedding the needle into oneself, the rot will be quelled and progress no further. After she buries it deep into her flesh, it is revealed that the scarlet rot has destroyed much of Millicent's memory, to the point where she barely remembers her own name. As a thank you, Millicent awards the prosthesis wearer heirloom, its description reading, "Though born into the accursed rot, when the young girl encountered her mentor and his flowing blade, she gained wings of unparalleled strength." Millicent states that she vaguely is starting to remember her destiny and starts off on a journey of her own, during which we encounter her many times. Up in Altus Plateau, Millicent claims she is retracing the steps of Malenia, Blade of Mikola, after her battle with Radon. She states, "I'm tracing the path Malenia took after unleashing the power of the Scarlet Rot during her battle with General Radon in the Kaled Wilds. I should like to meet her, this vanished woman. I think she's in the north, in the lands that lie beyond the Erd Tree. In the northern region of Altus Plateau, in a valley nestled up against the base of Mount Gelmir, is the Shaded Castle, a castle half sunken into a poisonous bog. Once residing in the Shaded Castle was House Murray, Murray being the last head of the fabled family of executioners after he dies at the hand of the Tarnished. At his defeat, a Murray robe is found on his dead body. Its description states, "The sons of House Murray are all sickly born. Little wonder that Murray would be so beguiled by the beautiful and fierce goddess who was born into rot." It is confirmed by the portrait of Malenia and his Aunt Spur's rapier's description that Malie worshipped Malenia. Scarlet Rot is an old legend of which Malie of the Shaded Castle was a private believer, and indeed he eventually found his own personal goddess. The castle has many enemies throughout, but one of the more surprising to make an appearance are Malenia's Clean Rot Knights. One of them guards a chest, its contents being the Valkyries' prosthesis, the golden prosthesis once used by the one-armed Valkyrie. When returning to Millicent in Altus Plateau, you can offer her the golden arm, which she accepts, allowing her once again to wield a sword. After this point, she moves to the snowy peaks of the mountain tops of the Giants, searching for the second half of the Halig Tree's secret medallion. Once it has been obtained from Commander Niall and the Halig Tree is reached, we once again find Millicent in El Fayel. She reveals what has brought her to Mikola's Halig Tree. "I am of Malenia's blood, but in what capacity I know not. I could be a sister, daughter, or an offshoot. Whatever the case though, I am certain of a kinship between us." This revelation is confirmed by Gowry, who clarifies, "I am the one who found her, a mere babe in the swamp of Aeonia. Little Millicent, following in the steps of her mother, no matter what. This is their fate after all." Millicent unknowingly followed after her mother's footsteps and found her way up to the Halig Tree, with the sole intention to return to Malenia the dignity, the sense of self that allowed her to resist the call of the Scarlet Rot. But unbeknownst to her, Millicent's 4 sisters have followed her to Mikola's Halig Tree, their purpose to end her journey, confirmed by the description of the rotten winged sword insignia, reading, "The 4 sisters were born in the swamp of Aeonia, and came to the Halig Tree under the aegis of Gowry, and yet those buds were doomed to never bloom." Here you must decide whether to assist Millicent in defeating her sisters, or choose to challenge her one-on-one. Gowry begs you to assist the sisters, saying, "I ask that you side with the sisters and kill Millicent. Sever that trust. Nurtured by betrayal, her bud will flower most vividly. When Malenia ascends to godhood, Millicent too shall be reborn as a Scarlet Valkyrie. If you choose to assist Millicent, she thanks you, but reveals that it would be a short-lived victory. I took out the needle myself. Tell whoever put you up to this, that if I am to flower into something other than myself, I would rather rot into nothingness as I am. Millicent dies before ever reaching Malenia, her body succumbing to the rot within it. Although her lineage is no mystery, there are still many questions as to how Millicent and her sisters came to be. Their mother, Malenia, as described by the remembrance of the rot goddess, is an Empyrean, and the twin sister of Mikola. Both suffered afflictions from birth, one cursed with eternal childhood, and the other harbored rot within. At the end of her battle with General Radon, Malenia unleashed the power of the scarlet rot within her, producing a massive flower that spread scarlet rot across Caelid. After this event, many began to worship Malenia as their rot goddess, as described by sage Gowry, who explains, "In the age of the Elden Ring and Queen Marika, the precious Empyrean was born, a new god to forge a new order. Since Malenia fought Radon and the great scarlet flower blossomed in Aeonia, I have dedicated myself to her, and to the resplendence of the Order of Rot, the cycle of decay and rebirth." Gowry and Malie are not the only ones to worship Malenia. There are also those known as the Kindred of Rot. These humanoid prawn creatures are also called pale pests, and the abandoned children of the goddess, by the description of an incantation called pest threads. They also drop a weapon known as a pest glaive, wielded by the pests who emerge from the swamp of Aeonia. It would seem that these creatures were born of the scarlet rot that blossomed from Malenia. If this is true, then it is also possible that her scarlet bloom could give birth to other children as well. When traveling throughout Caelid, littered across the environment are vines that have pink buds atop them, buds that closely resemble the scarlet Aeonia of Malenia. When referred to by Gowry, Millicent is called green and undeveloped, waiting to flower into magnificence. I'd never seen a bud of such superior quality. She might very well outshine her sisters. Additionally, the rotten-winged sword insignia describe Millicent's sisters as buds that were doomed to never bloom. Now, from here on out, this is total speculation, but I believe that the buds that grow atop the vines are indeed where Malenia's children come from. Being an Empyrean and born of a single god herself, it could theoretically be the same for Millicent and her sisters, being born of Malenia singularly. The Kindred of Rot are also creatures that crawled out of the swamp of Aeonia and seem to have no other origin. The lesser Kindred of Rot guarded and worshipped Millicent while she lay dying from scarlet rot affliction in the Church of the Plague. Or, as Gowry explains it, tended to by the witless pests who worship her, or rather, her rotting sickness, as a god. Could they too be born of the rot? Or, perhaps, they are agents of an outer god, arising only at the presence of the scarlet rot. In the description of the Kindred of Rot's exaltation, it states, "Rot for the scarlet goddess. O scarlet blossoms, flourish in distant lands, and return to us, the unwanted children." But like her mother, Millicent despised the scarlet rot that slowly was consuming both of their bodies and minds. Instead of allowing herself to bloom into something else, Millicent chose to allow the rot to kill her, a slow and painful death that would allow her to remain true to herself instead of becoming a pawn for others. We see a glimpse of this in Sage Gowry's dialogue after choosing to side with her. "Millicent, my daughter, why would you take out the needle? You were so close to becoming the fairest of all flowers. Would you disown us too, as your mother did? Millicent, Malenia, do you detest us so utterly, we children of scarlet rot?" I believe Millicent, like Malenia, was chosen for a reason, to partake in the cycle of decay and rebirth, being reborn as Scarlet Valkyries, harbingers of the scarlet rot, laying waste to the lands between and leaving behind them a trail of corpses. Despite this intended purpose, though, neither allowed themselves to be vassals for a meddling outer god, severing the cycle of decay and rebirth before it could ever be completed. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye!